I just couldn't help myself. I love the Delinquent stuff, man. What can I say? Today we're here to get into a couple of them. The first one is called Ogami Matsugorou. It came out in 1989, and I don't know if the plot is all that entertaining, but we'll talk about that in a second. So Matsu here is a 188 centimeter only child who lives and breathes the life of what we call gangbanging in the West and fighting. The gimmick with Matsu is that he is known as the praying Matsugorou because he always prays for his opponents before handling his business. Don't get it confused, he takes a couple of L's himself, but he's got a rep for sure within his community. The thing about him you'll notice is that he's not a cold-hearted, tougher-than-leather gangster. He tends to just be himself. He shows less attractive expressions of his emotions at times, but that street element is something that's just a part of his identity. This allows for you to connect with his character as a regular person. The vibe of this OVA is colored by the looming presence of Matsuo's girlfriend, the girl that he gets with basically at the beginning of the OVA, that doesn't approve of his lifestyle, but gravitates towards him regardless. And he really cares about her, and everyone can see it shows reverence to that. The interesting connection her character has to the story and pretty much the stem of the plot is that her mom is running a kindergarten that's being messed around with by the Yakuza. And of course, with Matsu's background, it causes a couple altercations between the two parties, and that only extends the issues to other problems with other gangs in the community and whatnot. There's no holdback from top to bottom in Matsugorou. There's violence, and most of the characters in this don't care to do what they want to do. The only slight issue with this is that it feels more like a fillerish or less focused episode of a series being presented to us as an OVA. There's a lot of events throughout the anime that sidetrack things away from the actual point of the story, arm wrestling battles and school assemblies, and it's more than for fun or added comedy. It just felt kind of unnecessary to be in there. And shortly into doing my research, I discovered that there was several manga-related stories being thrown in there, which is the cause for the confusion. In some ways though, it can be enjoyable, like the girl gang that shows up and confronts Matsu's group over a previous dude he dealt with, and then they end up actually getting together and collaborating, let's just say that, later on. I actually really found myself attracted to this part of the story. It seems as though a lot of thought went into directing it specifically the way it was executed. But anyways, great stuff ultimately, and when the time comes for fighting and warfare, Ogami Matsugorou delivers. The music from beginning to end of this 50-minute OVA was so complimenting to the anime that words can't really describe it. I think you're better off to just go watch it and see what I mean. It's not to be narrowed down to any genre, it's just up-tempo retro anime music. I almost could make the argument that Super Nintendo JRPGs kind of share the same kind of vibe as this right here. Could be a reach, but go watch it and come back and let me know. Ogami Matsu, man, not much, but it's a good one. A lesser enjoyable but still noteworthy one I'm gonna break down is Rokudenashi Blues, English name Good for Nothing Blues. A pair of films from 1992 and 3 that comes from a 42-volume manga back in the 80s. Following the anime came a couple live-action films and a TV drama, but of course you can look into those if you want. In this video is all about the anime. Tyson Maeda, world boxing aspirer and delinquent high school student. All this is literally him and his dudes moving around school and town fighting as he's on conquest to be the greatest. This may be a little too simple of a plot. I mean, who am I kidding? It most definitely is, because all it did was cause the story to feel extremely lethargic and just not that interesting. Luckily for these movies, it wasn't made for that. It's all about showcasing the violence and the back and forth and the bickering, which there is some of that every 30 seconds to a minute following every instance of dialogue in this. Unfortunately, there's pretty much no blood drop, which causes it to not be very realistic, like it doesn't really feel that realistic. I mean, it happens from time to time, but overall the beat to blood ratio is kind of off. And it felt too cartoony at times, like the little bobblehead beginning parts like that come. The comedy was probably supposed to fill in the blanks of not having character development, and what I even like to call character establishment. There's not too much time or probably effort provided to flesh the characters out. So let's just make them all airheads controlled by their ego. And the one girl everyone's obsessing over, her name's Chiaki. So I recommend getting drunk and vibing out a couple hours with these. You'll honestly enjoy yourself more towards the end of the first movie, which is only a half an hour. And then the second movie, this one offers so much more. Through romance, there's a lot of that, drama, and it just feels way more organized and it gives you a little bit more to work with. In this one, the school goes on a field trip out to Tyson's home area, the infamous Kansai region that everyone was wilding about him being from there and having that distinct dialect in the first movie. All the warm heart stuff come to the surface because Tyson's brother tells him that his father is ill, which brings him directly home. Not a deep video here, man, I just enjoyed these. It seemed like Toei Animation took on a lot of the Delinquent stuff in the late 80s and 90s. It's just something I noticed. But yeah, another couple of those ones that if a random poorly translated version wasn't resurfaced in the last decade to YouTube or some other site, who knows if we'd ever hear of it. Oh yeah, and Blues has a video game too that was on the Super Famicom. It looks pretty alright. Psych. Like the video, comment down below what y'all want to see next. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Anime back when.